Good evening. We begin with breaking news out of Warren County. That is where a deputy was shot near the Kroger in Landon.
We're live at the scene right now. We don't know the condition of that deputy at this hour, but we're looking at live images here of a very active scene there as the search is underway for that shooter in this active shooter situation. Photojournalist Andy Overton is actually first on the scene. We have many crews that are arriving at this time. And Andy, can you hear me on the phone right now?
Yeah, I can. Thank you. I'm out here on Route 22. And
taking a look at some of the video and the scene of the activity from earlier today when this attack first began. And a number of people were very concerned. The alerts went out across campus, the text messages. And in fact, I actually want to bring in I-Team reporter Hillary Lake, who's been here in Columbus since early this morning. And you were here when all of this activity was taking place. You spoke to a number of people when they were in their safe places, you know, just waiting for the all clear to be called in. What did you witness out here today?
Well, we are actually just about a block from where all of this started.
This is body cam video from Glendale officer Joshua Hilling. It records the encounter last Tuesday between Hilling and Javier Pablo Aleman, who was armed with a knife. Tonight, we break down the seconds that Officer Hilling has to react to Aleman. At this point in the video, Officer Hilling asks Aleman to walk to his cruiser, where he tells him he plans to pat him down for officer safety. Once at the cruiser, though, Aleman turns suddenly, and in less than 2 seconds, Aleman reaches behind his jacket for that knife. You see it there. He begins to also yell, kill me, as we start the video back up. And in less than 2 more seconds, Hilling pulls out his gun, and you can clearly see the knife right there in Aleman's hand. 2 more seconds go by, and a shot is fired, the casing captured in this frame of the body cam video. Aleman goes to the ground when that shot is fired. He's shot in the abdomen, but eventually he gets back up on his feet and continues his advance toward Hilling with that knife still in his hand. You can see him getting back up there. Now, while Aleman keeps yelling, kill me, Hilling orders him to stay on the ground on I-75. Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters today says the officer did nothing wrong in this case, and Hilling's police chief praised him for showing restraint during this entire situation. Ultimately, a Sharonville officer who arrived as backup tased Aleman, and he was taken into custody. You can take a look at the full body cam video for yourself on our website, WCPO.com. We want to show you at home the suspect's route here. It's kind of a crazy one. We know it all started up here in Sharonville. They go down 75 through, of course, Cincinnati, over into Kentucky, catch 275, over into Indiana. Then guess what? They came back over into Ohio.
So let's go right to Craig McKee. He is live at the scene of the investigation. Craig?
And Julie and Carol, you know, so many of our viewers first found out about what was taking place here in Pike County on our 9 on Your Side mobile app. We immediately started pushing out the details as we knew them at that time. The details from earlier this morning and earlier this afternoon have changed hour by hour, and we finally did get the latest update on all of the aspects of the investigation, where it stands now, the victims, and of course the location of what we've seen from Chopper 9 today, high above the area. Again, those 4 different locations on Union Hill Road. TJ Parker was one of the first here on the scene gathering that information for you. He joins us now live with the very latest.
Well, Attorney General...
Well, I know a lot of people were out and about this weekend, whether they were getting mani-pedis or just enjoying the weather.
Well,
either way,
matter.
It was gorgeous.
Oh, I know I was.
Yeah, I know.
Craig, I was, you know me on a Sunday afternoon.
You like to have your pedi done.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, hey, everybody. I could barely hear you because we had 2 fire trucks right next to us with their sirens going. I couldn't hear a darn thing. Steve, we're on. We couldn't hear anything because of the fire trucks.
I was there enjoying the parade.
I know, right?
Students together. I hate to read stories like that because I really
you want to sit there and watch everybody dancing and having a good time out there. Well, more time with Netflix than our friends.
That's kind of scary.
Not on Your Side, anchor Craig McKee is there live with a look at what's happening there right now. Craig.
Hey, good evening to you, Julie. I have to say, I can barely even hear you. The atmosphere is certainly party-like here on the first night of the Republican National Convention. You can see all the delegates behind me here on the floor of the Quicken Loans Arena, now transformed into the convention center. And, of course, you can tell those are the delegates from Texas right there. And there are many of them. Ohio delegates, though, are celebrating here. Kentucky delegates, Indiana as well. And, you know, the convention officially got underway earlier this afternoon, right around 1 o'clock. We've been listening to a number of speakers. Many are awaiting tonight's big speakers. One thing is for certain, though, in speaking to the head of the Hamilton County Republican Party, all eyes are on the nomination and not the fact that Governor Kasich is not playing a role, an active role here on the convention floor.
It struck us, I think, Craig, immediately as something that we took note of.
Well, it's something that you see that and you really do kind of flash back to the days of Columbine and some of the other school attacks and emergency situations that we, of course, sadly have watched over time. Again, just to be clear here, we are not sure what's going on here at the Kings Junior High School right now. What we know is an emergency button was pushed, and that's it. But we are staying on top of this with continuous coverage right now, because if you are a parent or a grandparent or a friend of a teacher or somebody who works at the school there, obviously we want to make sure that you are in the loop with the latest information that we are getting. Our assignment desk and newsroom are working every angle right now, trying to reach out to every contact, trying to get the latest details. And if you happen to know any information, feel free to reach out to us as well. Obviously, Twitter, Facebook, you can message us with information. Newsdesk at WCPO.com is an email address. And for any parents or grandparents out there, if you were perhaps still going to go get a child, I know it's 5:04. Most children are most likely out of the school. But those with, after-school activities and things of that nature, again, Rivers Crossing Church, 5937 Kings Island Drive. That is where you can meet back up with your students. And, again, all activities canceled for tonight.
And I think, Dan, you're seeing there, start with anchor Craig McKee, who is live outside Madison High tonight. Craig.
Good evening to you. Let's set the scene a little bit for you here. Behind me, you can see the school now dwindling down the number of sheriff's deputies' vehicles. About 30 minutes ago, this parking lot still had about 8 to 10 sheriff's deputies, K-9, a number of investigators' vehicles here, as well as this investigation continues into this shooting today. And we do want to let you know the victims' names in this shooting. Take a look here. Cameron Smith and Cooper Caffrey. Two of the victims. Here are the names of the other students injured, not shot, though. Catherine Doucette and Brant Murray. Those are the victims today. Again, 2 shot, 2 injured by shrapnel during the chaos there in the cafeteria. Of course, we've had Chopper 9 live over the scene. You saw some of that video a short time ago, taking a look at all the parents that came here today and the long line of traffic and everyone just trying to get in and get their children, many waiting an hour and a half or so to be able to do that. We're going to get to Dan Carroll in Chopper 9 live in just a moment for the latest perspective. But first, we want to go over to Ashley Zilka, who actually spoke to and heard from Butler County Sheriff's Office and the latest on this investigation. She's live right now.
We have just learned that the shooter has been identified as 14.
Thank you so much for joining us. Some residents of the tiny community of Rabbit Hash are angry right now over a proposed ferry linking their area to the Rising Sun Casino just across the river.
9 on your side, Scott Wegner tells us why the quiet is so important to one of them.
But they are still looking for him 3 hours later.
And Julie, if we can, just quickly, we can actually show some of the perspective that he's talking about here on the map about the layout from where the original call was, the berm that he's talking about, and Kroger. So here's where the original call was, 8525 Jonathan Lane. Here's Landon Drive, and this is the Landon Square Shopping Center that they're talking about and where a lot of the activity was, the Sonic and everything, where the McDonald's, where all those witnesses were hanging out earlier with Ashley Zilka. So this is the berm right here that he is talking about, and the grassy area, and then look, all the trees here, and the tree line here, and the tree line here. Those are areas where he could, the suspected gunman could have gone into, and then those trails actually lead back this direction, back there. But this is the Landon Square parking lot. So all of that activity in the initial stage of this behind the Kroger, this is what investigators were having to deal with. Well, since our report, our 9 on Your Side I team discovered a connection between the man behind a certain brand of synthetic urine sold in Cincinnati and Cincinnati's own mayor.
So negative, 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 negative.
When the 9 on Your Side I-Team tested synthetic urine, the results were clear.
So your first look at this, you would say...
It's a negative drug screen.
A product marketed for years to pass any urinalysis has ties to Cincinnati, invented and created by Matthew Stevens, who even holds a patent on it. Its sole purpose to produce negative urinalysis results. Hi, is this Matt? When we spoke to Matt by phone, his claim was the urine is designed to pass tests looking for nicotine and not for any other purpose.
Yeah, that's doublespeak, isn't it? I mean, why would you have something that's guaranteed to pass your drug test but not meant to pass a drug test?
Do you know Matt Stevens?
I don't.
Since our report, 9 on Your Side uncovered new information. Our 9 on Your Side I-Team discovered Matt Stevens and Mayor Cranley's paths crossed in 2013 during a campaign fundraiser.
So we had a mutual friend who asked Matt to host a fundraiser for me in 2013. Obviously, I was there.
Fundraising paperwork filed with the Cincinnati Elections Commission shows Stevens donated $500 to Cranley's mayoral campaign. Cranley says once he saw Stevens' connection to synthetic urine in our story, he told his campaign to write a check to the Center for Addiction Treatment, or CAT House, for the full amount.
I didn't even know about it until I saw your report.
While Cranley says he wasn't aware of Stevens' ties to synthetic urine, he says products like this are not welcome in Cincinnati.
To engage and market a product that's sole purpose is to engage in fraud is, it should be illegal, and if it's not already, it should be expanded into the fraud statute.
Now, we reached out to a number of state lawmakers about synthetic urine. We even reached out to the online retail giant Amazon, who sells products like this on their site. They didn't get back to us, and only Congressman Brad Winstrip and Senators Rob Portman and Sherrod Brown actually addressed the issue to 9 on Your Side. Winstrip called products like this concerning and promised to continue to support legislation that would make them illegal. Senator Portman said products like this are a disservice to the families experiencing the consequences of addiction. Senator Sherrod Brown said that he'd keep our thoughts in mind should this issue come before the Senate. It's a story we'll continue to follow. New on 11 at 11, it is said the pen is mightier than the sword. For one father and teacher, he's counting on it as he takes the tragedy of his son's overdose to the classroom in the fight against heroin.
Josh was my middle child. He was a typical middle child. Josh was the funniest guy in the room, no matter who was in the room. He was just the most charming young man. We could not get enough of his company. Heroin wrapped itself around his neck like a python until it eventually strangled the life out of him.
When you get to heaven, what will you say to him?
I missed you.
Todd Brabender doesn't want you to know who he is, but he does want you to know his son.
We were a camping family. My kids went camping when they were before 1 year old.
Josh loved being in nature. His entire childhood revolved around exploring.
He'd leave the house at 9 o'clock in the morning and play in the woods till 5 o'clock at night. Now, obviously, we checked on him.
Sure.
But he loved being outdoors.
That fun-loving spirit who lit up a room began to change his freshman year in high school.
He got into a drug crowd and started experimenting.
Prescription pain pills soon led to heroin and the start of the addiction cycle.
Or he would work, sometimes 8, 9, 12 months at a time. Clean, showed up for work every day, but then the relapse would come, and I could never explain why. In fact, Josh could never explain why.
Years in and out of rehab just didn't work for Josh, and heroin's python grip finally took its toll.
On Saturday, January 2nd, 2016 at 1:37 a.m., my 24-year-old son, Josh Brabender, passed away from a heroin overdose that occurred 48 hours earlier.
The letter Todd is reading,
Josh passed away quietly while I held his hand,
is one he wrote to his 8th grade students at Holy Family Church in Oldenburg, Indiana.
After Josh passed, I stayed up all night, and I was just sitting alone in my living room, 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 hours after he passed, and I said, I got to talk to my 8th graders.
The message is a simple one. Let them get to know Josh, and then have them know the pain, the loss. Connect so they'll think of Josh and make the right decision.
We want to get the message out and try to find some sort of silver lining in this tragedy.
If you can stop one kid at a party and he goes, I'm not doing that, because Josh's picture comes back into his mind, you've won.
Exactly right. Yep.
I'd like to thank Todd for sharing Josh's story with all of us tonight. And while Josh is gone, Todd, we'll get to see part of Josh through the eyes of his grandbaby, seen here in the sonogram that he shared with me. As for this letter that he wrote and also read to his class, I posted this on my Facebook page, McKee WCPO, if you would like to read it in full. It's also on WCPO.com with this story, where you can also find resources to help you or someone you know battling heroin addiction.